Our gospel reading for today comes from Luke chapter 19. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. And he was seeking to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd he could not, because he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today." So he hurried and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all grumbled. "He's gone to be the guest of a man who is a sinner." And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, "Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold." And Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, since he also is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost." The gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. Please be seated. So today, I have a confession to make. I spend a lot of time thinking about money, reading about money, and talking with people about money. Some people would probably think I'm obsessed. So think about it, right? If that is just a token definition of someone who is obsessed with money, then you probably all know somebody who's obsessed with money, right? And actually, I know you all know somebody who's obsessed with money. His name is Jesus. And you're thinking, well, that doesn't, wait, what? Jesus? Now, you might think it's strange for a homeless religious teacher / savior of the world to be obsessed with money, but 40% of Jesus' parables were about money, and Jesus' direct quotes on the topic of money and wealth and possessions are around 500 verses. He spent way more time teaching about money than he did about prayer or faith. Right? Interesting, isn't it? Did you know that? Is that a new thing for you guys? But why is that? Right? Why is that Jesus spent so much time on that? I'd say it's because we, just like the people of his time, have a not very healthy or happy relationship with money. Now, maybe you've heard it said before, but money makes a great servant, but a terrible master. And if you feel like money is controlling you in this life, money is the master, right? If you feel like you've got a decent handle on stewarding and taking care of the things that God has entrusted to you, then money has become its rightful place, right? It's a servant in your life. But for some reason, Jesus wanted his followers to have a productive and grounded relationship with money and stuff. So this week and next week, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what it means to be a joyful steward. And that's a big thing for me, right? That's a big definition. But it's really someone who has a healthy relationship with money. Right? And I want us to take some time to think about that. Because I feel like for the most part, we live our life as people that have this mindset of accumulation for security. Right? I got to do this. I got to put this away. I need this for a rainy day. I need this. Once I get past this, then I can take care of this and whatever. Or, some of us might not even be at that place. We're just like, I hope I can pay the bills this month. Right? We've got this huge spectrum of people, but I feel like so many folks are in this place where money has more control over them than they have over it. And I want us to get beyond that. I want us to move on the spectrum a little bit further down the line towards us having a good relationship, us having a good setup on how we see and use money. So I want us to move from this mindset of accumulation for security to intentionality around purpose and time and eternal impact. Right? Like that's what money should be used for, purpose and time and eternal impact. I'm going to reference a few books today. These are really good books. This Die With Zero one, thanks Amber. She told me about this one, and really, really good book. I would say if you're over 40, this is a really, really good read, right? If you are 20 plus, Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel is a really good read. Actually, I got a challenge for you. Buy a copy of this for your 20-year-old. Tape a $100 bill like right near the end, and then give it to them and say like, hey, let's talk about this when you're done reading it. And if they never call you and say, hey, thanks for that $100, then you know they didn't get through it. But you'd be doing someone in your life a really, really big favor if you incentivize them to read through this book, because it'll literally change the course of their life when it comes to them and money. And that's a big thing. It's a big thing. Jesus obviously was very interested in our relationship with money. So these are some really, really good books that give some modern language to what Jesus has been telling us forever. So this week I want to work on something we all struggle with, and that is contentment. Right? Contentment. I'm one of those people that if I don't accomplish something tangible or relational or check something off the list every day, I get really anxious, or I start feeling like I've kind of wasted the day, or I didn't do something useful, and I get that's the FOMO thing, fear of missing out. Like, oh, I had a day and I didn't do something useful. Like, what am I doing with my life? So I'm working on that, right? Really content, aren't I? Be still and know that I'm God. I know that the Bible says. I know that's in the Psalm, right? I know that, but just let me get the lawn mowed first, and then I got plenty of time to be still and remember that you are God. Daily contentment, right? Something we need to work on, something we can be thinking about. But what about being content with the stuff we have, right? With what we have, the money and the stuff. And I think that's always a work in progress. I continually work on it. I hope you work on it as well. I bought something this week, but I feel like I did the right process for it, right? I got a new pop-up fish house this week, and we're making ice. Did you guys 20s? Okay, sorry. So I had mine for years. I use it when we go up to Winnipeg, so it's up and down a lot, gets bounced around a lot. I left it out in the fish house a couple years ago, and got a couple mice holes in it. 30-mile-an-hour winds, 20 below, not ideal for a couple little houses. Could I survive? Could I tough it out? Probably. Could I be content with it? Yes, I know I could be content with it. Would I rather be comfortable because I don't like being cold at all, and I'll set my fish house up when it's 30 degrees and everyone makes fun of me? Yes. So I found it, a new home. I sold it. I got a deal on a new one. And Jess, I asked her about it because we talk about things, because we have good conversations about money. And she said, fine. You know what I'm saying. Because she's a person of simplicity. Right? And you know who I'm talking about. You know if you're one of those people, right? If you're a person of simplicity. She doesn't like a lot of things around. In fact, she likes fewer things around. And she married a person of abundance, right? That's a nice way to say that. She married a person of abundance. So I like things, right? I'm like, hey, we need that. Like, let's get a good one. Let's do it right. Let's go after it, right? And it's actually a pretty good combination. I buy things and she donates the old things. It works great. Although, again, working on contentment, we're way better than we used to be. And that's the circle of life. You buy new things, you get rid of old things. At least that's what the world tells us. But there are reasons for why we are different. And she grew up differently than I grew up, right? So we all have our money patterns in the baggage that we carry with us. I remember the biggest struggle we had early in our marriage was grocery shopping together. And I don't know if anyone else had this problem at all, but we'd go to the grocery store, and she'd be like, oh, we need some pineapple. And I'm like, why are you getting Del Monte? The Target brand's like 40 cents a can cheaper. Like, it makes no sense to buy. Well, I don't know, this is what we always bought growing up. And I'm like, well, just get the other one. Well, this is the one I know. And I'm like, oh, this isn't going to go well. That was like aisle 1, right? We couldn't grocery shop for the first 2 years together, right? We just had different habits. It's just an illustration of these different lives, just the way we grew up that we brought with us, and how that can be a struggle sometimes. We all have opinions on how other people deal with and spend their money. So in the psychology of money, it wants us to admit that no one is crazy. Everyone's just living maybe how they were brought up, how they came up, what's normal to them. And that's the emotional truth we need to get over, right? We can't just have this emotional reaction. We have to understand that everyone's got their own stuff they bring into this. We grew up in families that taught us good habits or bad habits. We need to be able to identify what's the good stuff we want to carry with us and what's the bad stuff we want to change. We've probably all made mistakes in our early adulthood, or you're about to. Maybe we even got lucky with something everyone else thinks is a terrible idea. So let's not assume that what we do is perfect or right and that everyone else is crazy for doing things their way. I have a lot of conversations about this. It's part of my job is to sit down with couples before their weddings, and I always talk about finances. You know, the number one issue that people have in relationships is their finances. So I sit down and I have really serious conversations with people, and I tell them, read this book, look at this, where are you at with this, what if this happens, things like that. And so, like I said, I'm obsessed with money the way Jesus was, so I always want to know the plan. And I've heard them all, I think, at this point. I haven't been surprised in a few years now. You got the totally separate accounts. You got the joint accounts, but 10% is, siphoned off each way for some person's fun money. One guy's like, well, what if I want a new gun for hunting? I'm like, oh, does she not like that you hunt? Oh, no, she doesn't care. They're like, so what's the big deal? right? And he's like, right? It's like, are we all in on this? Do we want our separation on this? Do we want to feel like I've got a piece of me that I can hold apart from that other person? Like, these are all questions to ask yourself and conversations to have. And again, all stuff that Jess and I worked through as well in our 20s. Other people make financial decisions that seem or that make sense to them or are normal to them. And we can't judge, because that goes poorly in relationships, but we can learn and we can find common ground and find what works for us. So where's your heart in terms of money? Right? Because our money habits really are an extension of our heart. Luke 6:45 says, the good person out of the good treasure of his heart produces good. And the evil person out of his evil treasure produces evil. For out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaks. Money issues are often heart issues. And we're kind of addicted to more, right? Kind of addicted to more and more and more. What's the first, if you've had little kids, what's the first sign, if you ever teach them just like 3 or 4 little sign language things, what's the first sign you teach them? What's this? More, right? We all know, like, hey, here's some puffy things that have no nutritional value. Do you want any more of those? And they're like, more. And I'm like, yeah, because there's, they're puffies, whatever those things are. You remember what I'm talking about? Yeah. I ate some too. They were kind of gross, but. More. First thing we teach someone is how to ask for more. Right? Our pets get it, right? Our pets get it. My big dog, Otto, my big boy, he comes and he'll sit next to me on the couch and he'll like look at me, he puts his head down like this, and I'm like, hi, buddy, and I start petting him. And then if I stop petting him, you know what he does? He just puts his paw on me. Just gentle, just sets his paw right on me and looks at me. As if to say, you aren't done yet, I'll take some more of that petting, please. He wants more, right? In that case, it's sweet and persistent, but in terms of wanting more in life, it can be detrimental, it can be dangerous even, right? More saturated fat, that's not necessarily good. More alcohol, not necessarily good. More and more of the things that aren't always better is a problem. And the problem really is the shifting finish line. Right, we have the shifting finish line. I remember in elementary gym class, we had these aerobics videos. Every once in a while when, Mr. Curry said, I don't want to teach today. We're going to have aerobics video. So he'd wheel out the VCR and TV cart, and he put on this video of this aerobics instructor. Did anyone else do this? This was the worst, man. And he'd bring these things out, and he'd play the video, and they'd be like, okay, we're doing jumping jacks. We're like, okay, fine. 10, 9, 8, 7. I'm like, all right, 4 more. Okay, fine. And then you do your 4 more. Like, all right, let's go. Another set of 8. And I'm like, no. You said 10. Like 10 jumping jacks was what we were doing. It wasn't that I couldn't do 8 more jumping jacks, but they said 10. And then now, I'm like, 10 plus 8 is 18. You moved the finish line on me, and I don't appreciate it. Right? But that finish line is always moving in life. 10-year-old me hated aerobic video days almost as much as the mile run days. And I know I shared with you before, but the moving the finish line thing always happens to us, right? If you ask anyone how much money they need to be happy, every single person says 20% more on average. Right? People making $40,000 need 20% more and they'd be happy. People making $1 million say I need 20% more to be happy. The finish line always moves. It always moves unless you nail it down and decide where it's going to be. It's a lifestyle creep. It's a keeping up with the Joneses. It's the opposite of contentment. Jesus shared the parable of the rich fool. His barns were full. Everyone knew him. He's this rich guy. He's got these big barns. They're full of grain, but he's got this big harvest coming in. And rather than realize that he's hit the finish line, he's in a good place, doesn't need any more, he tore down his barn to build bigger ones. And you know what Jesus called him in the Bible? It's the worst thing they can call you in the New Testament. He was a fool. Right? He was a fool. It's a bad thing to be called by Jesus. I don't want to be a fool. Right? I want to have a finish line. And if I got more than I need, I want to find something good to do with that. Like, what can you possibly do with it? Right? Like, I think about the billionaires of today's day and age. I think Billie Eilish just got after him or something. She's like, why are you billionaires anyway if you don't give it away and do something with it? And she's got a point. Like, who needs hundreds of billions of dollars? Like I look at the Powerball, when it gets up to like 600 million, and I think, oh man, I could have fun giving that away. Is anyone else like that? I mean, I don't think like, oh man, I can't wait to build a palace or a castle and just like keep everyone away from my little king. I mean, it's a weird thing. Like our mindset needs to be like, if we see something, if we get something, if we have this thing, like what good can we do with it? Otherwise, why else are we here? What kind of legacy are we leaving? This guy builds bigger barns, fills them up, and then tears them down and builds even bigger barns. See, that's a spiritual failure of knowing when enough is enough. Maybe some billionaires need Jesus. Maybe that's what's going on, right? It's a spiritual failure of knowing when enough is enough. What's enough for you? Have you done the math? You even thought about it? Right? They call it your peak. Die with zero, right? They call it your peak. This dollar amount you need to get to, at which point you need to start spending stuff down, and you're going to end up with a bunch of money you die with and doesn't no good at that point. Right? Like your 60-year-old kids, are they going to need your money at that point in their life? Probably not. But could you help pay for grandkids' weddings and college, or give your kids money like when it matters and when it's helpful? Or do you want to die with $3 million and then have no say in it and not get to enjoy the smiles on people's faces when they receive it? Something to think about. Like I said, it's a good read. What was the rich barn owner hoarding for? Right? I don't think he probably could have answered that question. What do you need all that for? Do we have a finish line in mind? In The Psychology of Money, this one here, Morgan Housel, the author, encourages people to save to gain independence and time. Right? Those are the goals. You save to gain independence and time. I love that. That I really love. Or freedom and time, not status. Right? You don't save to get status, right? You don't, and that's a challenge for us. It really is. It's a challenge for us. But compare this, right? Let's put these two things on the side of a scale, and you can tell me, or just in your minds, right, what you think you'd rather have. The idea of like what people think of you, or the idea of having the time and resources to do what you want. Right? Think about which one is more important to you. Which would you rather have? One of them, of course, requires more discipline and contentment. I'd much rather have the wealth that other people don't see and don't know about. Life doesn't consist in the abundance of possessions. Do you know the best way to have enough in life? Inherit it. If you can't do that, right? The prodigal son, he wasn't wrong. He probably read this book, and he's like, Dad, like, what are you going to do with all that? Like, I can use it now. And then he just didn't do good things with it, right? The best way, though, right, is to have good, consistent habits that are driven by your desire for freedom and contentment in making a difference in your family and in the lives of others. Right? That's a vision. Like, I get excited about the idea of that. Most people I know that have found some level of comfort in life didn't decide just one day, they're like, oh, I guess I'm comfortable now. Right? They changed their behavior and they changed their expectations. They identified what was enough, and they lived with that in mind. I think it took Jess and I till probably our early 30s to kind of start figuring that out a little bit. But once we kind of figured that out, had that conversation, put some numbers down, put some goals down, life has been considerably different since then. Right? You might have heard of the whole give, save, spend strategy. A lot of us talk to our kids about it when they get their first job, right? You got to put some away. You should, give some, find something you like to give to, whatever, and then you spend the rest, right? You can have your fun or whatever, live with the rest. Kids don't need to pay bills, so they have fun with it. But we need to do it a little bit differently. And since we're in church, our version goes like this, right? And this is how I do it, and you feel free to follow suit if you want. But we give to God first. It's just what we do. We do the automatic giving, so we give to God first. And then we save, like a lot, to help us reach our finish line, right? That we've set, and we're trying not to let move. And that's about helping the kids with college. It's about like retirement stuff. It's about freedom. Those kind of things, that freedom and time, things that are important to us that we want. So that is part of what we do, right? That's kind of how we go about doing it. And then you live on the rest, right? You live on the rest. You give, you save, and then you live on the rest. So for me, it just works. It's a good way to, if you just are like, hey, let's live, and then maybe we can save, and then if with some left over, maybe we can give to something or do something. I don't know. I think I've tried that back in the day. I didn't love it. Didn't like how it felt. And so I do it this way, and it just seems to work better for us. And about giving to God, this is my only little thing, because I have to do this probably at least once a year, or they unpastor me. Please consider establishing the habit of giving to support our mission here at church, other things that God's up to in the world, missions, different stuff like that. If you currently aren't doing that, please consider establishing that habit. Everything costs more. Did you guys know? Have you noticed yet? Everything costs more than it did last year. It's weird. I think our liability insurance only went up $15,000 this year. So y'all homeowners insurance, y'all feel the pain. So if our giving doesn't, keep up a little bit, we'll start to feel it even in this generous place. So if you don't give and this is your church home, please start if it's in your means. If you're already giving but you haven't thought about that or considered or changed or revisited that in some time, please consider revisiting that and looking at what works for you and if you can step up in any way, shape, or form. And if you're in a place where you can make significant gifts to the church or to ministries, we can put those dollars to really good work in the community as well. Someone came in the other day and realized that they can give their required minimum distributions directly to church, so they don't have that as a tax burden. And it's a great way to give and be tax efficient. And I'm sure Jesus would have mentioned it if the tax code was updated at his time. That's it. That's my pitch, right? To revisit your giving. Let's finish up. Give, save, spend. Right? Give, save, spend. And the save and spend parts are habitual, right? Those are things we work towards. Those are things we just establish in our life and continue to do. I say automate it. That works for us. Have that saving happen without even looking. Set your goals. Set it up. Put it in auto drive. And then live on the rest. Every once in a while, Jess will say to me, she's like, I feel like we don't have any money, right? But it's intentional. And I've done some reading on this too. Like, you're supposed to live in such a way that you feel like, okay, we're just like, so you keep your checking account at a certain place where it's just like, okay, we have to think about everything we do. And I think that's a good thing, right? We have to have conversations about things. It's because we're putting things away for college and retirement and giving, right? Independence and time, those are very desirable things to us. And I keep the checking balance low. We think and we talk before we spend because that's good. That's a habit of ours. But honestly, I'm buying time for her. Right? That's my incentive. That's my goal. That's my finish line. I know she wants to spend time with people and do things that matter, and her day job doesn't give her that. So the sooner she can be done with that, the sooner she can do something else that she finds life-giving. Right? We have a goal, and we're working towards it. Like, that gives me purpose. That gives me an enthusiasm to continue to work hard so that she can do that, and we can work towards that thing. Right? And that comes from the heart. It's all a question of the heart. You know your heart. What's life-giving to you? Right? What do you feel your purpose is? What are you actively engaged in? This is internal and emotional discernment, and it's the first step in stewardship. What matters to you? Matthew 6:21 says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So what do you treasure? Is it stuff? Is it recognition? Is it status? Is it family or quality time or freedom or people or serving or helping or what? What is it that you treasure? If you are saving, if you're developing good money habits, or maybe just today you've decided, I'm going to start doing that now. Like, why? What is your treasure? Your pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that isn't really a pot of gold. Take some time to think about what's important to you and why you might want to live differently, why you might want to make some sacrifices, why you want to scale back or even step up and say, like, hey, I don't need to save this for someday. Like, let's live now. You need a shared vision of what's important to you. Right? Jesus shared this, Matthew 13:44. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and hid, and for joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. He knew what he wanted. He knew what brings him joy. It was for him this glimpse of the kingdom of heaven. And he reordered his life around obtaining it. So get your glimpse. Discover your treasure. Align your heart to what's important for you. And find contentment with the blessings God has given you. Let's pray. Good and gracious God, Christmas is coming, Lord, and we're going to be highly and strongly encouraged to spend all that we have to bless the lives of the people around us. Lord, if I remember right, your son Jesus is coming as well, into a manger, into a stable, into poverty, into future homelessness and wandering for the sake of what mattered to him, which is that all of us know you, love you, and walk with you. Lord, it's so different from what we're told is important today. Lord, help us to find with you and alongside of you a way that we can live, a way that we can be joyful stewards, Lord, not letting money have mastery over us, but mastering it ourselves, putting it to good use, Lord, for time and freedom and for others and all the things that matter. Help us to find that finish line. Help us to live well, establish good habits, using things to love and serve our neighbors and our spouses and our kids and our parents and our grandparents and our neighbors and just all the people that need to get the best from us. Lord, help us to find the best in ourselves, to look deep, figure out what matters, and live into that. I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.